Welcome to Sisterhood Meets Motherhood, the podcast where two goddesses who happen to be related by marriage discuss all things family, purpose, sisterhood, faith, spirituality, and all the other divinely messy parts of womanhood. Every other week, Kendra and Sophie unmask from all the daily roles required of the modern woman to bring you refreshing and truthful conversations that remind you that you are, in fact, never alone on the journey.
Hey there, welcome to episode number 7. This is going to be a really fun one. The topic is align and go. And this is something that my sister-in-law Sophie and I have chatted on previously, and we really wanted to dive deep and share with you all how we're feeling. So we're excited. We're recording on a Saturday. Normally we're recording early mornings, and we're 8 hours difference being in different countries. And so we have these like weekend vibes of relaxing, getting to dive deep into this content with you guys, and I hope that that just comes through to you. So Sophie, how are you? I know you've had yoga this morning, and I just finished up my Pilates, and I'm curious, how are you being in this moment?
Really good. I like having this be on a Saturday where I know that I have the rest of my day ahead that's not packed with the weekly tasks. And as I was sharing, I had a little bit of chaos this morning. I took a yoga class and was having one of those experiences of like all the anxiety and the stuck points coming to the surface. So I'm grateful that we had our moment of grounding before diving in. And now I'm just so happy to be here with you connecting. Kendra, how are you being?
I love that. And I think I'm in the same path with you. I just finished up my Pilates workout in the same fashion where I was kind of in a funk and had a crazy morning, but I love that we're able to change and align and go with the moment and direct it in the path that you want it to be. So I think the word that keeps coming to me for how I'm being is it's like this grounded energy. And I've been focusing on this and trying to really manifest this in a busy world that we live in, and being a busy mom with 3 boys. I need to have energy, but it has to be grounded and stable. And so I feel like we both put our Motivate oil on, which we're going to talk about later on in the episode, which is perfect for this topic. But it really helps me just to get grounded and focused and like ready. It like fires up the engines without being like off the wall crazy, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm coming into this episode with some grounded energy, and I'm really excited about this topic.
Me too. And it came up because we were discussing how easy it was to start this podcast. I know I have friends who have been thinking of starting a podcast or plans to, and when pretty much overnight we put out all of these episodes, one friend in particular was like, wait, what? Like, who did you talk to like get this set up? And I was like, we just did it. Like, it couldn't have been easier. And we were reminded that when something's aligned, like when something is congruent and authentic to what makes you come most alive, it actually gets really easy. And it's tricky though, because we do sometimes have resistance towards the things that are most true for us. And it's like, how do we become discerning between knowing when it's actually information that something isn't aligned and there needs to be a shift, or when is it just a little bit of resistance that we need to push through? Like even with the podcast, there's been mornings where I'm like, I can't wake up at 5:30 a.m. for the time difference, or like, I don't know if I want to do that tomorrow, but it's just a little bit of normal like ego resistance. And in my body, that's kind of coming from the head and chest. In my body, when I take a breath, I know that this podcast is so aligned, and therefore it's been really easy. And I have other examples too, but yeah, what about for you? What's your experience been with knowing that something is in alignment or not in alignment?
I will say it's like checking back in with your intuition too, because like you said, if your heart and your head is not aligned, it's so easy to get your head off in one direction, but then your heart rooting you back over here and it's kind of chaos. And so I think like you were saying with this podcast, it was really easy. Like when I listen back to our podcast episodes while I'm doing dishes or laundry, and I feel like I'm listening in just like all of you. And I'm like, whoa, like we're just doing this. But it really started with this. We were getting pedicures together and just, we have these deep, intense, incredible conversations together. And everyone was like looking at us in the pedicure place. And it was really funny because Sophie's like, we should just make a podcast. And then pretty soon she had this like perfect voice and wrote out the thing. And it just was exactly what we were walking through. But she took time to get clear and kind of tap into her intuition and just into that grounded space where, yeah, this is sisterhood and it meets motherhood, which is where we're at. And those are what our conversations are about. And the beautiful, messy parts of all of womanhood that we all experience in different, at different times, different parts of it, but we can connect on that. And so I think circling back to your actual question, I would just say in business and in life, even like I have friends that are like, a comment was made here in Spain at our little Friendsgiving by one of the girls. And typically here, you wait till you're older, like 35, 40 to have children. Scott and I have 3 kids. I'm 35. So it's like crazy to have 3 kids and be that quote unquote young to them. And one of them made a comment like, yeah, but when you have money or when you're, and I so often hear people get caught up in that where like, I have to have everything in line with money and house and this and that to do something like children or like a business adventure or something. But instead, those are just holding you back, like, because even when you have all those things in line, it's not going to be perfect. And so I think it's really taking time to tap back into that focused intuition to figure out what it is exactly. And then you just do it. And we've had times where we've talked back and forth about like, oh, did that one sound good? Or this audio is off or this and that. And we're like, no, it's exactly what it is in that moment. And someday we're going to look back on episode 1 and 2 and be like, oh man, look how far we've come and how, so I think this is just like, if there's something that's on your heart, go for it. And like, there's no reason not to.
Totally. It does. I was thinking as you were talking though, I think sometimes the mistake that I make, and I've seen other people around me doing this, is we get into the go and the produce and the spreadsheet and the like logistics before we've actually fully aligned. It's like if you imagine holding a yoga pose, like you're in Warrior 2 or something like that. That's like one of the ones with a hip opener, and you haven't like your foot is facing the wrong way and you like breathe into it. You're like going and you're like think you're having the stretch, but it actually could be damaging. Like it's not total alignment. And once you get the right, you like get your body in the right alignment and then you settle into it, you get this release and this opening. And so I do think it's so important to feel into timing, alignment, creating the container for the work that you're doing and then settling into it. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm just thinking Kendall and I have started to hold space together for some clients. And yesterday we held a woman in a day-long intensive for something she's been processing. She had been working with me and then she had Kendall's support. And it was like so amazing to be in a place of alignment with Kendall. That's my husband's, Kendra's brother, where it was just like water flowing together. Like we were in collaboration. We were in trust of each other. Like it was so aligned for us to be holding space for each other that it was effortless and it didn't even feel like work. It felt like we were just receiving and in this like, timeless experience. And I've been in partnership or collaboration in a service for a client or something like that in the past. And like, there was something off in the alignment or connection with my co-facilitator and it was just hard. And so the invitation is that we get to find the aligned containers and partnerships and businesses and whatever it is that are in such alignment that it just feels easy. And not that it's like, just like the yoga pose, like holding a pose, you still have to like have your strength and your backbone. It's not like you're just a puddle on the floor and everything's so easy, but there's this feeling of like, I'm aligned right now. And therefore the go feels effortless. Like I want to like be super present in this moment.
Like when you brought this topic up, and I'm glad that you brought that back. Like we didn't say just go and go and do it. It literally is align, like have alignment and then go. And I think that's really, really important, like you said, because we all have different strengths, right? And some people's strengths are very futuristic. So this can be actually harmful if you're just going for something and then you're just kind of running the wheel of things that aren't really productive for you, if that makes sense. And I think one thing that also can hold you back is that fear and that judgment of, well, if I make a podcast, what if it's not like so-and-so's, or what if it, we're just using this example of podcast because it did just kind of effortlessly fall into our laps. And it's been something that has really brought some fun. It's like when we have these times, you guys are listening, and Sophie and I are connecting, and I'm learning from her, and I get to share about my passion with essential oils and using them emotionally. It's like a therapy session for me. I get off of these podcast recordings and I'm like on top of the world and feeling just so great. And I've also got to take another step closer in connection with my sister-in-law. So it's like this beautiful thing that we just kind of, we winged it and we did it. And this could be something that maybe this is coming to you at a time where there's a business opportunity, or there's something that's been on your heart and you're in this like flow of the everyday world, but maybe something's like, your passion and your purpose is in a different category. Maybe this is your time, and this is your little reminder to align and go for that, because life is short and you have to be doing the things that are filling your cup and bringing you passion.
Totally. Yep. Like we get to be, and this is very privileged. And I think sometimes people are like, but I need to pay the bills and do this work that doesn't feel right. And it's not a totally easy process, but I so believe, and I see in myself and so many clients that I've worked with, that it is possible to get aligned to a space where your work feels like you're actually really receiving. Sometimes that does require building a bridge to get there. It's like, I remember when I knew that what would be most aligned for me was to run my own private practice. And I couldn't have even expected the creativity that would flow out of me once I got to that space, because I had space to create my own method, to be my own boss. It worked so well for me. And it was really painful to be in the grind of a 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. job of so much therapy a day, working for someone else. Yeah. But there was this feeling of even that was aligned, because I know where I'm going. I have a map to where I'm going, and I can't get there if I haven't paid my bills. So I'm going, this is a line for me to grind a little bit right now to get to that place of alignment. And I got to connect my own values to that thing that didn't feel 100%, but I did value at the time being stable enough to do the work that I wanted to do and not be in debt by the time I got there. And also, although there was some debt along the way, it's not this perfect path. And also it was a value to keep on growing my capacity to hold space for clients and to get my hours in to get licensed. So I was able to trust that that was on my way to full alignment. And I just thought of this. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I just wanted to share this other, it's a little, we're jumping around a little bit, but I'm just looping back slightly. I was doing a workshop with someone I really respect, another healer in the area, but she actually gave me feedback after one of the workshops that we taught on boundaries, that it seemed like I didn't want to be there, that my energy was kind of wanting the time to pass. And that was a really amazing, honest feedback, because when I felt into it, it was true. It was not fully aligned for me to be creating and holding those workshops with her. And so I then got to have an honest moment with myself and then with her that said, you're right, I don't. I don't, even though on paper it sounds cool and what we've created is really amazing, I'm not a full yes to this. It's not fully aligned. So I ended up giving her everything that we created together and letting that go. And then next thing I knew, the 100% aligned opportunities were coming of me creating my own course and us starting this podcast. And so sometimes it's really not easy to listen to the truth of what's misaligned.
And there has to be so much humility in that too, because that couldn't have been an easy conversation. And it probably was took you back for a second. But one, it's amazing that you're surrounding yourself with people that are honest and true about it. And then you can receive that truth because you are, in line with it. And that's actually really, really cool to have that. I didn't know that happened. And so that's actually really cool.
Oh, and it was so hard. It was sleepless nights, really hard conversations, pissed off at each other. It was not easy to trust what was fully in alignment for me. And also to own the self-responsibility of, it would have been much more in integrity if I found that misalignment and made the shift earlier. We got a little bit too deep into it for me to then come back and say, actually, I'm a no. So I learned a lot about not saying yes to something that I'm not a 100% yes in. And over a year later, we're now we now see and we're clear and we're good. But it took letting there be conflict and letting there be difficulty to trust that if it was a no for me, ultimately I'm not serving by showing up to something that I'm not 100% there for.
Absolutely. I think something that came over my heart as you were just talking is the evolution of change, right? And change is a beautiful thing, but with that, you have to be open to doing new things. You can't just be in the same routine all the time either. So when you have these things or life changes, or I guess for me, we're changing countries every 9 or 10 months and it's just always changed and I love it. But in those moments, I have to adapt to it as well and get back in alignment with whatever phase of life it is, whether it was pregnancy and newborn phase, or whether it was, going through a divorce and separation and then reconciliation phase, or a business change or something. You have to, that alignment and that coming back to yourself and checking in and tapping in with that grounded core has to happen often. And I think, I don't know, I think since you were doing yoga this morning and I was doing Pilates this afternoon, those are ways for me to be able to do that breath work and meditation and grounding. And in those moments, I know it's probably the same for you. It's hard. Like you were saying, it's not just easy. I think people underrate working out in yoga and Pilates because it's so much more work mentally. And like you mentioned, your hips are opening. We know our hips hold a lot of emotion. So you're letting things out that maybe is uncomfortable and you don't want to have to let out, but it's a really important thing to tap into your body and do that and be okay with the evolution of stuff, but come back to it because with every season, there's a reason, right? And I don't know, I just feel there's so many things like that I've looked back on my life and it has changed, but I had to get back in alignment, and things that might've felt right 2 years ago don't feel right now. I'm in a place right now with my business and where I'm moving forward and getting my essential emotions coaching certificate. And I'm doing my business differently because I'm evolving, I'm changing, and I want to get in line so it feels right, because things I was doing in my business aren't feeling right anymore.
Yeah, things change and we get to change our mind, and that's also super feminine to be non-linear. I think I want this and no, I want that. And sometimes we make ourselves wrong for not just knowing, but we get to be in a process.
Absolutely.
And everything that you just said reminds me of what I wanted to offer in terms of a therapeutic tool for this. So I'll jump into that and say that knowing what's aligned or not, in my opinion, 100% comes from the body, not the head. And when I try to think things and put it on a spreadsheet and plan it all out, I end up making choices that aren't a 100% full body yes. And I think that's the connection to yoga and Pilates. It's we then actually have to go under the head and even the anxiety in the chest and feel into the body. And I help clients with this all the time. We're talking. And then it's what does your body say? If you feel down to your hips, what, and your sexual organs, is there an opening or a closing? And it's pretty revolutionary to choose to be in connection to our bodies in that way. I know for me, I have a lifelong journey of going in and out of fully being in my body and in my pleasure, and then getting constricted and forgetting that I have a body. And just in the past couple of weeks, I've had more of a return to oh, hi body. Oh my God, I forgot that I have access to pleasure and relaxation and a world and a universe inside of my body that lives outside of all the emails. And I'm so grateful to be returning, and I'm so grateful to be getting out of the fear and the figuring out and trying to let my body guide me in some decisions. And so that's that. I think we could do a whole other episode on connecting to the body and allowing intuition to come up through the body, but just planting seeds to take the yoga class, do the body scan, start to reacquaint to that relationship. And I've been consciously trying to reconnect for the last 6 months or so after going through a pretty chaotic transition in my life. And it was like my body was like, hey, I'm not going to let you in like right today. Like you've been ignoring me for a year. Like you don't just get to like take me out and then take me home. Like it's kind of a funny way to say it. Like we're going to get to know each other again. And it's been really nice to finally feel that safety rebuilding.
I love, you guys can't see me, but I'm literally taking notes over here because she's brilliant and she'll say things that I'm just like, oh, like it just clicks for me. So full body, yes. And that's something I'm going to work on each morning when I wake up. The other day when I was doing my breath work and yoga, I think my gratitude was just for my spine and like how underrated we don't focus on our spine and how it is literally what holds us up. And like, it's so important. And so the entire practice, I just gave gratitude to my spine. And in that, when I was like flowing through it, the instructor on the app, she was like, you've never been alone. Your body's always been there with you. And I think I was like, oh, like you're right. And I need to love on this body and this vehicle that I've been given for this journey. And so the full body, yes, makes sense. And our body is brilliant. I know a lot of times we have tummy aches. My 8-year-old, my highly sensitive child, he's been talking a lot about his stomach hurts. But it's not hunger. It's not needing to go to the bathroom. It's emotions. And our bodies, when we get out of our heads and we focus into our bodies and you really tap into that, it's going to tell you things, listen to it. And I think it's really, really powerful when you are deciding to, get on path. So when the oil that I think ties perfectly into this is motivate. It's the oil of motivation. It's this beautiful mix of blends of, or it's a mix, or I'm almost trying to speak Spanish. I'm like mezcla, a blend of mints and citrus. So citrus oils are happy and mood lifting, right? Like you're walking through this field of lemon that's beautiful and sunny. And mint is really invigorating and energizing.
Mm-hmm.
So the combination of these two, I love. The Motivate oil blend on the emotional side here in my book, it says, this blend of mints and citrus oils was formulated for those who need motivation and encouragement. It assists individuals whose will has stagnated and needs to be fired into action again. Motivate fosters confidence to follow through with one's creative inspirations and intentions. It also embodies a warrior-like spirit and strengthens individuals to face adversities and challenges. So whenever you get in that space, I think if you guys can take anything from today's episode and just have a full body yes, get in alignment with your body, use your essential oils. There's so much power to the aroma. It's so much more than this. And there's the olfactory connection, right? It's a chemical reaction in your brain, and it really can help you to get out of your head and out of the funk and like get this focused, grounded energy and motivation to move forward on the path that you're meant to be on, because you're going to be, like you're saying, like you have this pleasure and this, I don't know, you just find this place where it's fun and it's easy, and it should be easy to step into what you were called to do here. So Motivate oil.
Yay. So there's tools. It's easy when we get to those moments of alignment, and it can be really difficult to get there. So I'm just sending out a lot of compassion for anyone wanting to find more of their yes and their alignment, and knowing that it takes work and tools and practice to start to build that. But yeah, I love being in the magic of feeling like I'm fully aligned. It's like the synchronicities, the magic. It feels like I just have this feeling of like I'm in alignment right now, and it feels so good. So I hope that for everyone. And that's it for this one.
All right, everyone. Until next time.
Until next time.